Welcome, my friend, to Next Level Change Success. I'm Therese, a change strategist and practitioner with over 20 years of experience designing and delivering impactful change programs across various industries. In this podcast, I share real-world practical strategies to help you create and deliver positive change experiences, whether you're a leader, practitioner, or someone looking to bring new ways of working to life. In today's fast-paced world, change is constant. Here we focus on how you can put people at the centre of your change strategy, because people with a sense of purpose are the most important link in driving performance. So if you're ready to create meaningful change and achieve all the success that comes with it, keep listening. Together, let's change the conversation and take it to the next level. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Next Level Change Success. My name is Therese, and I'm the founder of myvirtualchangemanager.com. I'd like to acknowledge that I am recording on Tharawal country and pay my respects to the traditional owners and custodians on the land on which I am recording, and the elders both past, present, and emerging. Wow. This is episode 100 of Next Level Change Success, and I feel like there should be round of applause, and that's my sound effect of a round of applause for achieving such a milestone. I can't believe I've been talking about change for 100 episodes. I haven't counted the minutes. Would have been a good stat to have. But I am so grateful that a couple of years ago I decided and took the plunge to start this podcast. I get good feedback from people who listen to it. It's good to know that I'm helping people. And I think in this day and age, and I'm sitting here in September 2025, that the world is quite tumultuous. We have had unprecedented times. We've lived through a pandemic, global pandemic, which changed the way we view the world. Some may have reverted back, but we forget, and you may recall as well and think, wow, I can't believe some of the things that happened during COVID and our restrictions, the fear, the care that we had for others at that time, and the consideration for others that was really pushed to try and alleviate the pressure on people around the illness, making sure that we were trying to isolate for the greater good. There's just so much to unpack around that time, and it's certainly things that I think about sometimes when I reflect upon similarities in situations, but certainly at this point in time, there is still a lot of turmoil going on globally, and I want to acknowledge that because we all carry it. We're all connected and we all carry it, whether we like to or not. We're all connected. So there's a couple of things I want to talk about for this 100th episode, and believe it or not, I recorded 4 versions of this and I wasn't happy with them. And this is now the 5th version that I'm hoping will be the one that does resonate the most with me, because one of the biggest challenges I have in podcasting, I talk about frameworks, I talk a lot about how you approach change. I'm very, very passionate about this discipline and the framework, but also about what change teaches us as people. And the reason why I talk about it is because that's been my journey. And if I reflect upon the year 2020, I had a hugely significant loss with my oldest sister passing away from ovarian cancer. It was very difficult, a very, very difficult time, where 1 month later, I then had my son arrive into this world a month after losing one of the most important people in my life with my older sister, and COVID hit and was in full flight of pandemic times. And that process, as well as then needing to apply for my role at the time and changing from being a perpetual contractor to being a permanent employee at that time, all of these transitions were huge. It was a big year of having my identity really challenged in a lot of areas of my life. I became a mum. I became a full-time employee. We moved physical location at the end of 2020. We just had so much change going on in our life and a lot of upheaval. And I often say the birth of my son saved my life at that time, because it really had us keep going and make choices and move with the times. And my wife and the family system was so important to me at that time. And through that change journey, and for many, many years before that, I was doing a lot of personal development work. So I always like to think I'm introspective and reflective to learn more about myself through my life experiences. And I put myself in situations where I learn more about myself, and thus I work in the change industry. Leadership has been a role that I've taken on a lot. All of it is so that I can grow as a person and be better in this world. And I'm hoping that if you're listening to this podcast, that you can also focus on that as an intention for yourself, is to grow. Because we have human constructs such as work and life. And for me, it's life. So we spend a huge amount of time with people that we work with. I have been lucky, and I am so grateful for everyone's path that I cross in the work environment. And I learn about myself at work through, at times it might be the struggle, at times it might be the ease and the flow, and through generosity of others, as well as what I hope is the generosity of myself to others. And this is really critical nowadays, to have more people be known and to consciously choose to be that way at work. I would say don't compartmentalize. I would say allow yourself to experience life to the fullest, and that includes within the workplace and outside of the workplace, obviously with appropriate boundaries and obviously with the intent of adding value and connecting to other people. Your world and how your world operates, if it's anything like my world, it's busy, it's fast-paced, it's at times hectic. And so sometimes reflecting about how you're keeping centered in this space, keeping centered for yourself, yet continually raising your awareness about your beliefs and how you're behaving in an effort to simply show up to be the truest version of yourself over time. And I think sometimes that takes many years of living in this world, that you unpack the levels and layers that you have. And I don't think that ever changes. I certainly know this year I have a significant birthday coming up, and that has had me really reflect on my journey so far. And you might have heard that a lot this year in my podcasts around the different change and different approach that I had, for example, in my 20s versus my 30s and my 40s. And this is how I think when people who are older than you, so you might be younger listening to this, and you might be thinking, oh, there we go again, saying you'll know when you get there, and there is this thing with experience. So there is this thing with ensuring that you're constantly getting out of your comfort zone. That's how you grow. Diving in the deep end, taking that plunge, maybe working on a change that you're not familiar with the right support, of course. These things get you out of your comfort zone, get you to explore different aspects of yourself and see how you show up and see what challenges arise and how you can learn from those challenges, I think is really critical. So one of the core aspects I wanted to talk about today was just you as a person, and know that your life experiences contribute to how you approach change, how you lead others, and how you fundamentally behave. And that currently you're achieving a level of, hopefully, success or progress when it comes to change and how you work with your project managers and your change managers, other change managers, business subject matter experts. But if you're coming up against a wall, then perhaps take the time to reflect about what beliefs are driving you from day to day and what might need to shift with you first. The one thing that you can control is your role in change. And whether that's your role in how you're raising things with a leader who you want to engage better on your change, or your role in perhaps gossiping a lot around change, which may not be as helpful as being able to hold the line around the possibility that the change you're working on will bring. Just always think about that, because sometimes you can be ambivalent about your role in change. And I think it's really important that you understand your own potential when it comes to change, your own potential around growth as a person and what you can offer. And that's not necessarily about going up the ranks in an organization. It's actually just about how much you can affect the world of others through putting together good change plans, through going and engaging and collaborating on solutions versus just creating them on your own. And so connection and working in a connected way is more important than ever. It's been a big theme of mine this year. Please be aware, empathy is power. Being empathetic towards others is how the world should work. And where there's a world that we're living in which is quite divisive, where there's these loud voices wanting everyone to be divisive and separate, and us and them and they should be doing this and there's no such thing as that. All of this just rhetoric that goes on for those who may not necessarily want to attract attention through standing up and standing for what they believe in when it comes to connection, to collaboration, to communication, just a fundamental respect of others. I think it's time we all start to just give a bit of voice around this, because it is so important that we show respect to others. It is so important that we fundamentally understand that we are all connected and show the compassion to those who are so threatened and in fear and working in fear that they feel like they have to attack others. It's unnecessary, and you might be finding in the workplace that it's starting to seep through, because we are people. And once again, as I said, this is just life. So it is important to make sure that people's differences are encouraged and seen as an opportunity to learn from each other versus have an us and them mentality. And it is permeating everywhere. I have seen, even within the change landscape, people talking about, leaders don't know what they're doing, or project managers don't appreciate the change. It's so hard. It's just about team. People fundamentally just sometimes don't understand change. And then if you're always banging on about how other people should do their work, well, that's not a very cohesive or collaborative environment. And so this is just about being kind to each other, respectful, and working together. The fundamentals never change in that. Being able to listen more, not necessarily go into a threat state if someone's giving you feedback that you don't necessarily like. Always reflecting on your own biases that you might have about certain roles, certain people, certain organizations. It's just really important, more than ever, to really stand for connected thinking, connection with others, making sure that everyone is feeling safe in everything that we do and included in everything that we do. The next thing a little bit that I want to talk about was energy in an organization, because energy is so prevalent. We talk a lot about it around our physical body, but the reality is that within a change, you can have ebbs and flows in a change. You can have your change flow, or it could be an enforced change, one that is pushing versus allowing flow. And you might even find in your day-to-day that there are certain days where you show up where there is no flow, and how you can embrace that as, once again, another way of learning about yourself. And perhaps sometimes if you push too hard, it may not work in your favor to push people. And in times, in certain organisations where there's a high fear base, there could be that push and pull that happens, which is unpleasant for people. Once again, have a think about how you want to approach your role, your work, change, when you're leading it, influencing it, when you're teaming to create change. If you are pushing too hard, reflect on why and where is that actually being driven from. Also think about, have you got momentum when you think about energy? Have you created the right momentum? Are you maintaining it with your change and through the activities and the energy that you're creating with your change? Don't overinflate the energy you put behind a change if it's only small. You don't need to over-engineer it, which is too much energy expenditure, and work on the things that matter when it comes to change, which is often the communication element, people engagement, and then continuous improvement off the back of that change. It requires energy. Think about your own energy, and one of the things I certainly know through life, when life is busy and then there's a lot going on from the change perspective, it's even more important for self-care. One of the things I've actually done this year, since November, my birthday last year, was I have not been drinking. I haven't had a drink of alcohol. Not drinking. I've been drinking water, of course, and coffee and tea and whatnot. But I haven't been drinking alcohol since November last year. And that has been a very insightful experience. The reason why I haven't is because I wanted to feel good every day this year. I was like, for the next 365 days, and who knows, it might be longer. For this significant year, as I approach my significant birthday, I wanted to make sure that I made the most of every day. And that's certainly been something that's been top of mind, I think, as I approach this birthday, but also because life isn't permanent. There's only one way out of this game. There's only one end game when it comes to our life. And I had been thinking about not drinking for quite a while, many years. I've done shorter stints. I've done 8 weeks. I've done 30 days, that type of thing. But I have certainly never done this length of time. And it has been interesting, and there have been some very, very challenging days where I would have just loved a glass of wine to numb out. Like, it definitely was very present for me. However, one of the things that I've realised through this year is I haven't been as sick as a result of being worn out. And your body changes over years. So 20s, totally different to 30s, totally different to 40s. And you really do realize your own body rhythms, and also that fundamentally your chemistry changes. Like, your hormones change in your body every single year, and especially as you're getting older. So that has been very, very real for me in the last probably 2 years. And so in the last year of not drinking, I haven't missed it. I've had moments where I've wanted it, but I haven't missed it. And one of the key things I've realized is that it really does make a difference to my sleep. It makes a difference to my energy, which is really fantastic, to just never wake up feeling seedy or hungover. And I still have fun. I've actually had some really fun nights going out and not drinking. That connection, the self-care, there's other things around acupuncture this year that I've been doing, exercise that I've been doing, which I'd put to the side. I think when you have a younger child, you tend to not do as much for yourself, without doubt. And that's been a real juggle. And so I've really been looking more to focus on making sure that I have priorities around going for a walk at the very least, doing some weights and things. It's all the whole rage at the moment, but the reality of strength training is really important when I'm doing something now, and then the results can be seen later. So these are the things that hopefully there's something that might be in your bucket to do, or something you've always wanted to do that you haven't done yet around your self-care that you might want to prioritize. And don't be too hard on yourself if you haven't done it yet, or if you fall off the wagon. Let me get back on track a little bit. Talked about energy change, how that works. There's energy in organizations as well. When we talk about power play and where power sits, that's a form of energy flow around who really does hold the power in a paradigm or a team. Where is that energy flowing? How do you see that swaying? What's the cycles within an organization? And what does that mean from an energy perspective? And how do you work with that? All of that is multi-layered when it comes to energy, and something that, once again, we'll be talking about a lot more in my virtual change major, and certainly for next level change success, about energy in change and how that works. The other thing to talk about in just general life are the paradoxes in organizations, and I find this really interesting. The concept of slow down to speed up, the concept of reduce complexity, let's get to simplicity. It's more powerful when you look at simplicity. It's more powerful when you're planned, which means you slow down so that you can actually deliver really fast. And that's that concept of slow down to speed up. If you have a plan, if you can just plan it a bit more, you can deploy and deliver more effectively in a better way and faster. And it's ironic that many organizations are in just perpetual chaos because they don't have good planning cycles. They're not clear on the strategic agenda. They're not communicating well. And so that concept of agility, and many organizations will just jump to agile methodology in order to try and get fast delivery, but with no structure. And agile delivery has structure. It has structure fundamentally. It also has a lot of other things that make it successful. When you look at Scrum, or if you look at agile practices, they have the right people at the table. They have autonomy around making decisions. And many organizations, you do not, because of the political landscape, get to have that autonomy to drive something home. The other thing is they will have a high customer experience lens. So culturally, if they're truly customer centric, then you can achieve agility and achieve it well. When you're not truly customer centric, and many organizations aren't, then you cannot achieve that agility even if you wanted to. You will never get the outcomes that you want if you're not achieving, if you're not truly customer centric. And so some of these things, the other aspect is only through self-care or care of your people are you going to be able to ensure that others are cared for. And that's a paradox in and of itself around we want you to focus on the care of others. Many changes do this. They jump into this discipline because they really do care about other people, but then they don't care for themselves enough. So they're not unable to have healthy boundaries. They're unable to not get caught up in the energy of the change, and if there's negativity being thrown their way. There's a self-destruct that can happen with many changes because they're not empathetic enough towards the people in the project or even the people in the business to understand that everyone's on a learning journey in relation to change. And so then it becomes an impossible task for them to continue in that environment because they hold the standards too high rather than starting where their stakeholders are at. And so really all of these paradoxes are fascinating that sit in organizations. The investment in technology, but not understanding that people always use the technology. Even AI. People use AI, and yet no real clear change plan around the introduction of AI. It's just they see it as a capability building game, which it really isn't. It's very much a change game around AI, the use of it, how it can replace low-level tasks, how people can be freed up to step into strategic thinking as a result of that, how people can partner with AI engines to get the best product for themselves, let alone for other people, how they can be more efficient, how they can leverage. So many ways in which AI can be harnessed, which aren't even being talked about, is really fascinating in this landscape of business at the moment. So think about the paradoxes that sit within your organization. Over the years, where we've seen globalization like no tomorrow, where East has met West, and where more and more, and even I talk about power of meditation, power of energy, understanding, having self-awareness about your own belief systems. All of these things are extremely powerful. And if you're integrating that into the workplace, and if you're integrating this thinking into the workplace, the mindfulness aspect, the slow down to speed up, the concept of calm and the power of calm in your business from day to day, and how that ability to focus and to be calm is the winning methodology, is the winning ingredient when it comes to being able to innovate or being able to respond to change and not react to change, being able to move forward with confidence, then it's a different space that we've been talking about versus years ago with just looking at frameworks and efficiencies and cost cutting and how that works. So definitely next 5 years is a lot of opportunity, I would say, in this world. A lot of opportunity for you as an individual, and that's how you should see it as well. And think about how you want to explore, and if you really, and have a think about change and why you're listening to this podcast. And I'm hoping it's because you know the potential of the people in your organization. You're a person who cares. You're a person who wants to perform as well, and you want to do well in your role. You want to lead well in your role, and you want to influence others to change as well. And we can help with frameworks, but it's also mindset. It's also how you reflect on who you are and how you can bring more of yourself to this world and into life in general, which includes the workplace. And that's it for the 100th episode. I jump off my soapbox. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope it's given you a bit of insight about how my mind works and what I think of in the world of change and business. And that's why when I created my virtual change manager and I did the Simon Sinek workbook around the why, and it came through as clear as day, is that change matters because people matter. And I hold very true to that it is the people that make all the difference. It's a fundamental truth. The people in your organization is your point of differentiation. And if over time you've devalued that through not really focusing on diversity and not really focusing on investing in your people from a development perspective, if you're not looking to retain and grow talent and all you've done is have it leach away and leave your organization, then you will ultimately feel it. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you have enjoyed listening to this episode, and we are back talking about the world of calm next week. Change and calm, and how do they relate? Thanks for listening, and I hope you have a great day.